Okay, so now that we've covered off the shipping container process, how about just air travel? Maybe you've decided you don't want the shipping container. You want to bring stuff on the plane, including things like your family and your pets. So let's talk about the things that I brought with us on the plane to get us started in our new life in El Salvador. Hola, mis amigos. Benedicciones para todos ustedes and blessings to you all, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about coming to El Salvador to move permanently with your family and your pets. Let's talk about the things that I brought that I found were very helpful. First of all, you need to bring a lot of documentation. So I had this binder, it's actually my son's from the school, and that worked out perfectly because it has a zipper. Now I had a better one that had a handle here, but I just had too many papers and it didn't fit. So I used this one, it's zipper shut. So everything you tuck in there is not going to fall out on you at the last second, especially when you're in a rush going through something like customs or whatnot. Now let's talk about the things I brought with me in there. I brought stuff like our marriage certificate, and it had to be apostilled. And like I said, this is done in Toronto, and they actually use these grommets and clip it onto the original. I had a few of these originals made just so I would have them in case. And then when we got here, they had to be translated. So they translated the same thing, and everything's in Spanish on this one, and it's notarized. And then the original marriage certificate is behind it. They don't have them, with the grommets and stuff, but they do it all in color, just like the Ontario version. But in this case, it is in Spanish. So we did that for our marriage certificate, our children's birth certificates, as well as we had to have our criminal background checks done by the RCMP. They also had to be apostilled in that fashion. And like I said in another video, I wasn't able to get my son who was born in Quebec. I wasn't able to get his done on time because there was complications with that. First of all, his birth certificate had to be less than 5 years old, which the Ontario ones didn't have that restriction. So I sent them all off, and I had to get his notarized first, which I believe was $170. I think I saw the receipt in here. And then it didn't work. They ended up sending it back to me saying it was no good. And they ended up getting the apostille done here for 50 Canadian dollars. So on this one, it says here that the birth certificates and the marriage certificates. So we had 2 kids in Ontario, 1 marriage certificate. That's 3 of them for $96.32 each. And then the ones for the criminal background checks. There was 2 of them, and that was $32. And I guess there's no tax on this because this equals $128 exactly. So that's what they charged me in Toronto to have this done. And like I said, I paid 50 Canadian dollars to get my other sons done here. So it was a bit more expensive. However, in Quebec, I had to get it notarized first. So that was really expensive to get that done there. So it might be a little bit cheaper to get those done in Canada. However, if you run out of time, that's not going to work. And the one caveat of that is that the criminal background checks have to be done and used within 3 months of the date that they were issued or the date they were apostilled, which is kind of how we did ours, which was about a month off. So technically we had it good for 4 months. But I can't guarantee that's the same with you. So make sure you get your birth certificates. Those can be apostilled at any time. There's no deadline on that. And then make sure you get your criminal background checks done and apostilled just within the time you're leaving, right? If you know your date you're leaving, do that within the month you're leaving. That would be easier. But the process took 3 weeks to get them back by mail. I think they guaranteed 3 weeks. It was 5 weeks before we got them back. So it could take a while. It may be easier if you live close to Toronto to get it done, or whatever province you're in, if you're close to where they do it there. That may be more advantageous just to take the trip out. You get them done that same day. If you're running on tight time frames, I recommend that. Other things that we brought with us were our last will and testament. We also brought any certificates we had from our universities. We had firearm safety course certificates. We brought those. For the kids, we brought the report cards because that's important. Now we have to get those apostilled at the embassy to get them into school. So the stuff in the binder, I divided by person. So I had one for my husband, one for me, one for each child. It included whatever certificates they had. For the kids, we had baptismal certificates as well. We had all the stuff that we would need it per child. I didn't bring like medical things because we don't really have a lot of that. That actually came in our shipping container, that kind of paperwork. But my one son who has autism, I did bring that autism diagnosis in case we had any trouble anywhere for anything, something happened at the airport. It's funny, I never thought of this till now. When we went to Disney in 2013, because my son has autism, we were able to bypass a lot of the lines. So that was a little bit advantageous to us, but I didn't need to show any formal paperwork for that. But it's good to know that sometimes if things happen and you say, oh, my son has a disability or my child has a disability, here's my paperwork to prove it if I have to. And maybe then whatever happens gets excused or, because you don't know if there's going to be a scene at the airport and they're going to be like, you're not going to fly today because of this incident. Having some proper paperwork, if there's a medical diagnosis that could result in some issues, that you have proof that you have this diagnosis, it may come in to your advantage. One other thing I brought based on someone else's video. They had sold their home in Ontario and they were transferring the money. So they had showed that they got the money from the sale of their home. But then they were told they had to show that they actually owned the home. And I know this is a big thing here in El Salvador, that people have stolen people's property, try to sell it off, and then put that money in the bank. So I actually brought our original OREA records of purchase for our business in Canada, for our property in Canada. And so when it does sell, I'll have the purchase and I'll have the sale. So I have all the documentation because I know that they ran into some issue with this and I just want to avoid that. I also like this binder specifically. This binder has pockets. So when you're dealing with something quick and you don't have time to put it in with the binder, you can just slide it in here. And this is actually our folder for our business paperwork. So this is what I needed for our immigration. Anything I needed for immigration that I didn't already bring with me, I brought with us to the immigration office in this pouch here. That's all of our business stuff, and this is how we were able to get our temporary residency. But I also kept, when I went to the airport and I had the cat paperwork given to me, I just shoved it right in there, made it quick and easy. I didn't have to find a slot or anything for it here. And for the cat specifically, I want to go over that very detailed right now. So let's first talk about bringing your pet on the plane. We get these carriers from Temu. They kind of fold flat. There is a zipper that goes all the way around so that you can turn it into a carrier. However, on the way to the vet, we had one very anxious cat who basically had taken this carrier and somehow broken the zipper. I don't know how. And I thought I fixed it. And then when we went to leave to go on our flight, I put a different cat in that carrier and she also broke it the same way. And then it was irreparable. We actually brought a sewing kit thinking I might, sew her in all three sides. But we knew we had to take them out at the security gate. So that wasn't really an option. So we had to stop and get a better quality one on the way there. So I want to talk about this. We have our luggage tag on here. Inside there has my name and address, phone number, all that stuff, especially my phone number for El Salvador. The airline gives you these red tickets to put on when you check your cat in. I know this one got quite damaged along the way. And our cats had harnesses on, and then this was clipped to the harness on the cat, and we had it tied to the loop on the carrier. This carrier had a shoulder strap. It also had hand straps. These were not good quality carriers, and you have to use a fabric carrier on the plane. So when we stopped to get a new carrier, I picked this one up. Now this was $90, but the one good thing about this is that it had this strap on the side to go down over your carry-on luggage. I guess it has a pocket in here too if you had some treats or something you're going to bring on the plane. Very good Velcro. So you could slide something in there, whatever you had to bring, or an extra puppy piddle pad, because we have puppy piddle pads inside them, which were no good when the cats were anxious and they were moving everything around, and it didn't work out. But this particular carrier, what was great about this, if I can do it with one hand, is that pad is actually Velcroed down. And it has a hard plastic in it, so you could take the plastic out. It has a little zipper, and you could wash that padding, and it stays put because the puppy piddle pads got moved all around. They were, whatever. They were just a mess, and this didn't move. So a good carrier like this has the handle for the hand strap, has a nice little ergonomic shoulder strap. It had the key feature of being able to put that on the carry-on because we were carrying 3 cats, and one of those cats is very heavy. Not the one in this carrier, but it was great that we didn't have to carry this extra cat. I just had to roll her on the suitcase. So that worked out great. I'll demonstrate. This is what I mean. It straps right onto your carry-on, and then you just roll your carry-on around, and your kitty cat's in there. The other great thing about this is that each zipper has a little clip. So you can clip that shut so they can't work their way with their little paws or whatever to open that up and then jump out. This one has a big opening on this side, and it has a half opening on this side. And believe it or not, in a cab, on the way to the vet here, with this opening and the cat inside with the cone on his head, he was able to get through that. Even with the cone and everything. It's amazing. They're like Houdini. So having this locking zipper thing is super, super critical. And again, you want to make sure you have your luggage tags in case anything happens. But that's how it works with the carry-on. It's actually super convenient, especially if you have more than one pet, or you just want your hands free to be able to give people things that they need to have, like boarding passes and stuff. Just have a little kitten break. Older babies. You could bring a cat in who's pregnant, and you could have more when you get here. No, that's not what we did, but she was not fixed, and we wanted her to have one more litter. Right, Mama? So she was the one I had in that little carrier, and she was very light to put up on my suitcase, and she's had 3 little beautiful babies. Yeah. We got 1 girl. We got 2 boys. Now, we're big pet people, so like I said in another video, we actually had 9 cats. We had to rehome some, and we only brought 3 with us. So having 3 more, no big deal to us here, but we did fix our boys so that they can't produce here, and we're going to get our girl fixed, so she won't have any more kitties. But we love pets, we love animals, we love cats particularly. My kids sometimes like dogs, sometimes they don't. So I don't know if we'll have a dog until we have a much bigger property, but we have chickens and ducks and quail and rabbits, and yeah, that might be it. My parents called us the funny farm every now and again because we had so many animals at our house. So we're big animal people. We're from the country, and as the song says, we like it that way. For the curious among you, that carrier was from Pet Value, and it was $90.39. Muy caro. Okay, let's talk about pet. Okay, we had to have the feline leukemia vaccination and a rabies vaccination, and it had to be within 30 days of our trip. So the date was important of when our vaccine was going to expire. All the vaccines and boosters had to be given within 30 days before our trip. This was important. My cats actually had never had any vaccines because I'm not a big animal vaccine person. But in order to come to the country, we had to have the vaccine. So I had to work out when we were coming, which we didn't actually know. We didn't have our ticket spot until sometime in, I think it was July. And we came in August. Sometime in the summer, we're going to be leaving. So I needed to get the cats vaccinated. Now, my one little problem was that my black cat had just had a litter of kittens. So she was nursing. And I had to get the vaccine done and a booster done all before 30 days of our trip. So we didn't know till later on we were leaving August 20th. It worked out fine. But I had to find a vet who would give her vaccines while she was nursing. And this vet that I found did that. So that was good because I didn't know if we were leaving in July. I didn't know if we were leaving in August. And, it could have been September. But I had to get them done and know that they had to be done well before the 30 days. So that was the first part of it. So let's go over the cost of that. Now, one thing, you can get your cats microchipped. I did not do that. Actually, it probably would have been cheaper for me to do that when I got my boys spayed at the spay and neuter clinic. So if you're thinking about doing that and you're going to get your animals sterilized, maybe that's an option for you too. Because I think getting the microchip at the vet was going to be even more expensive. As it was pretty expensive. Let's go over the bills. So I took my nursing kitty to the vet first. So she had a first appointment on June 3rd because she was having trouble with some of her teats. So I wanted to get her examined first before bringing the boys. So that total cost was $240 for her exam and getting her shots, her first shots. And then the next day, on June 4th, I took my two boys. So one boy is Beast. That was $335. It was $579.01 for the two kitties to go that day to get their initial vaccines. So we went back on June 24th for their boosters. And so I have the total for all of them at the end. That was another $430.53. And then we had to go back because 10 days before our trip, so on August 12th, our trip was on August 20th, we had to go in for an exam to make sure that they were all healthy. So $165 for Beast, $165 for Beauty, and $165 for Grebo for a total of $559.35 to prove that my cats were healthy. I know, crazy. And she filled out these forms. I won't show you my exact forms. I'll show you the one because my vet was a pro at this. This is a form she had to fill out. I made 6 copies of it because it has to be filled out in pen. And this is taken to CFIA. Now, if you make any mistakes on this, they make you redo it. So what I did after she filled it all out, I took a picture of it and I sent it to the lady who I'd already called in advance and got her email address. I said, is this good? And there was a problem with it. So I only had, out of the 6 forms, I have 2 blank ones left. She had to throw one away, and then she filled out the other 3. And when they were filled out, at the bottom, it talked about their vaccines, and it had this stamp from the CFIA when I brought them to the CFA the next day. And so I have 1 per cat. I got 3 of these to say that the Government of Canada has officially sealed this document to say that these cats are in good health and that their vaccines are up to date. The other thing they had to have was flea and tick deworming. So this was a topical treatment that we put on them, except for Beauty. She had an oral treatment for her first one when she was still nursing. So we had that done at their first visit. We had it done on the health checkup because it was 30 days later. It had to be done every 30 days. So that was done. It was a NexGard combo. I had to buy that. That was in one of those receipts as well. And then the CFIA gave me this receipt. I don't know why it says draft, but that was $68.94 for the 3 kitties to have their health check approved by the CFIA. And that was done on the 13th of August, the very next day from the time we were at the vet. For those of you doing the math on that, that's about $1,878 Canadian to get my cats ready to fly. The tickets for the cats was over $500 American. I can't remember exactly the number, but I remember it was about a third of the price of what our tickets were for a family of 5 with the extra suitcase. Crazy. Now, from the El Salvador side, let's talk about how much it costs to bring the cat in. So when we got to the airport, we went up to the customs and immigration area. They changed that since last year, so it's a little bit more streamlined. And because we were slow, I guess, getting off the plane with all the cats, we were the last people coming in, and there was nobody there, which was great. So once we got through the part where we paid our $12 for our tourist visa, and they took pictures of us and maybe fingerprints, I can't remember. They looked at our passports, and we had dogs sniff our luggage on the way through to where we declare stuff. Then we were directed over to a little door, and that's where we went to get the cats checked into the country. Let's talk about those bills. So again, August 20th when we arrived, and it's the Ministerio de Agricultura y Ganadería. I guess, if I said that right. Maybe I didn't. And that was $9.04 per cat. So when he said it was $27, I thought he meant for each cat. No, I have 3 of these papers, and they all say $9.04. So there we go, 1 per cat. Isn't that great? So my disclaimer and all that is what we had to go through from Canada to El Salvador in August. Now the laws in this country are changing all the time, mostly for the better, I'd say. So make sure that you're checking on the government websites, or there are travel websites to help you out about what you need to do. And make sure you get your certification from your country you're coming from, because I know that's really important to have that health certificate. Ours is the CFIA in Canada. That's what we had to do to bring our 3 beautiful kitty cats into El Salvador. And one person, I remember talking when I was trying to rehome my cats, and I had 9. How could you choose which pets to bring? Easily, I'm not rich. And we only could bring 5 because there's only 5 of us, and they had to be the carry-on. So we had 3 cat carry-ons, and we had 3 luggage carry-ons. So we could have only ever brought 5, and as you can see, it's not free. It's not cheap. It's not even remotely inexpensive in Canada. However, as you've seen from my other pet videos, if you watched, if not, please do go watch the Chivo pet videos, the Bitcoin cat one, because that talks about the cost of things in El Salvador. And maybe you do want to bring your pets in here, because then you can get all this pet care for really inexpensive. So happy travelings. Let's talk about pets, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about pets. We go through security, and now we still have the 3 cats. Well, that's fun. You gotta take the cat out of the carrier, and when you take the cat out of the carrier goes through the conveyor belt, through the x-ray machine, and you gotta carry the cat. Now these are terrified cats. You can imagine how scared they were. I took Black Beauty in mine, that's the one with the nice carrier, and I walked through with her under my arm. No, I think I held her like a baby, actually. I walked through the security, so we were fine through security. It was great, but I had to wait for a carrier to arrive because I couldn't put her down anywhere. So I'm waiting. The carrier's taking forever to come out. So then my son has Orange Man. He's going through the carrier, no problem. And Orange Man was completely chill. Like, he was so relaxed. And he was great, but we still had to wait for his carrier to arrive. And then my husband goes through. Well, he'd forgotten to take stuff out of his pockets. He forgot to take his belt off. He had Grebo. Grebo's the one who busted out of the carrier when I went to the vet. Grebo was terrified. So he has Grebo under his arm. And when he goes to walk through security, Grebo poops on the floor 4 times. 4 times he poops on the floor. Like, oh my word. It's funny now. It was not funny then. And then because he forgot all the stuff on his body, he had to put the cat down so they could take the wand and go over his arms and, whatever, right? Oh my word. So I had to wait for then a carrier that Grebo could go in to come through so I could take Grebo and put him down. But plus I still have Black Beauty, so I had to get her carrier to put her in first. Then I wait for Grebo's carrier, put him in that one. Well, of course, his carrier comes out. He's already pooped in the carrier. He had the puppy piddle pad, whatever. And all I could do was I just literally dumped it into the gray bins that it was in, made it clean again, and put the cat in and zipped him back up. I'm like, okay, I can't deal. What am I gonna do with cat poop here at security? So I think the security guards are a little ticked off. This is a cat interruption. Was I talking about you too much? So they were a little ticked off. I had actually gone because my bag never came out. I had to go around to collect my bag. They had to search something. Oh yeah, it was my water. Here's the trick. If you want to keep your water in security, and it's not really necessarily a trick for me, but I take asthma medication. Asthma medication causes me to have a dry throat. When you take an inhaler, you have to rinse your mouth out. So when I go through security, I say, I need my water for my medication, and they never take it away. However, this time it was in the bin, so with my bag. So they're like, well, there's water in here. I said, well, I need it for my medication. He said, okay. Then he opens the bottle up and he does something with it and then gives it back to me. So while I'm getting my bag, the kids are dealing with the security guard who comes to collect the gray bin that has the cat puppy piddle pad thing and the poop in it. And I guess he was not impressed. Again, funny now, at the time, a little stressful, I gotta say.
Don't forget to hit the like button.